I moved into my grandfather's old house about 3 weeks ago. He passed away suddenly. The country home felt like the perfect place to gather my thoughts. I remembered the good times I had there as a child. The creaky floors and dusty antiques reminded me of those days. I thought the silence could be good for me. The first few nights were quiet. I unpacked, arranged my things, and tried to keep busy. I loved the way the light came through the old windows. But on the second night, something changed. I woke up to piano music playing softly downstairs. I froze. I was sure my grandfather hadn't touched that piano in years. My mind raced. Was it a draft? I felt a mix of nostalgia and unease. Despite my better judgment, I got out of bed. I crept down the hallway, and the floor creaked under my weight. The house felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. When I reached the living room, I stopped. The piano was quiet now, but I heard soft laughter. I glanced around, but I didn't see anyone. I pushed the door open wider. The room was empty. The piano sat still, its keys untouched. I felt a chill run through me. I shook my head and convinced myself that I was tired. The next few days got weirder. Objects started shifting places. A book I remembered putting on the shelf found its way to the coffee table. Family photos popped up in the frames. I didn't recognize some faces. In every picture, shadowy forms seemed to linger behind my grandfather. My heart raced and doubts crept in. Was I just imagining things? Then the music came back, louder this time. It echoed through the halls. I followed the sound, but it slipped away, just out of reach. The laughter joined in again, growing clearer. I felt myself getting uneasy. I thought I was losing touch with reality. One night I walked through the dark house. The laughter was louder now. It echoed in my ears. My heart was pounding. I wanted to call out, ask who was there, but I couldn't. I turned to leave the room. That's when I heard a soft whisper behind me. It was so quiet I couldn't make out the words. The air turned cold and it sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced at the old piano. It looked like it was quivering slightly, as if calling me closer. I felt it was wrong. I took a step back. Then everything fell silent. The laughter stopped and dread filled the room. A sense of being watched washed over me. And then I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around slowly, but no one was there. I told myself it was just my mind playing tricks, but deep down I knew something was off in that house. I thought about leaving, but I couldn't. It felt like my grandfather was still there, holding me close, even if it was in a way I didn't understand. The next morning, I tried to push the night's events aside. I made coffee and walked outside, hoping the fresh air would clear my head. The sun felt warm against my skin, and for a moment, I forgot the strange happenings in the house.
I wandered into the garden my grandfather had tended. It was overgrown, but still filled with life. Wildflowers bloomed, and the scent of earth filled the air. I began to weed the patch near the old swing set, hoping to find a moment of normalcy. But as I reached down, my hand brushed against something hard buried in the soil. Curious, I dug gently. I pulled out a small box covered in dirt. It was worn, the lid barely attached. My heart raced. I had never seen this box before. I wiped it clean and opened it. Inside were old letters and photographs tied with a frayed ribbon. Most were faded, but one stood out. It was a photograph of my grandfather with a group of unfamiliar people. They all smiled, but something felt off about the picture. In the back, facing away, was a dark figure partially hidden behind a tree. The figure seemed out of place, like it didn't belong. I shoved the photo aside, feeling uneasy. I had to know more. I took the box inside, my stomach churning with curiosity and fear. I sat at the dining table, sorting through the letters. They were addressed to my grandfather and mentioned a place, the old mill by the creek. The letters hinted at secrets, things undisclosed. My fingers trembled slightly as I read them. "What secrets did you hide, Grandpa?" I whispered to the empty room. As I read one letter, I noticed the air around me grow heavy once more. The house creaked, like it was settling back into its old rhythms. I stopped, sensing a presence. The familiar laughter echoed faintly, and a chill crept through me. This time it was different. It felt closer. Suddenly, I heard a soft knock on the front door. I jolted, glancing toward the hallway. My heart raced. No one in the area came by unannounced. There wasn't even a mail delivery today. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaky. Silence enveloped the house, pressing in on me. I stood up slowly, moving towards the door. My instincts screamed for caution. I reached for the doorknob, but the knocking started again, persistent and urgent. I hesitated. The last few days ran through my mind. Piano music, laughter, whispers. Who or what could it be? Taking a breath, I swung the door open. The porch was empty. My gaze swept the yard, but nothing stirred. Just as I was about to close the door, I noticed something lying on the welcome mat. I bent down cautiously. It was another photograph, unlike the one I had found. This one was fresh, clearly taken recently. I recognized the backdrop, the old mill by the creek. In the distance, a figure stood, gazing directly at the camera, and that figure looked too familiar. I felt my heart sink. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, and as I stood there, the chill left by the photograph crept through me again. I stepped back inside, closing the door firmly behind me. That's when I heard the piano start to play once more. I stood frozen in place, the haunting melody wrapping around me like a fog.
There was no doubt it was coming from the living room this time. The sound was clear, rhythmic, almost inviting. My heart raced as I clutched the photograph in my hand. I needed to confront whatever was happening. I took a slow step toward the sound, every part of me screaming to run. The piano was a relic from my childhood, covered in memories and dust. I hesitated at the entrance to the living room. The notes danced through the air, weaving a story of joy and sorrow. But the sorrow I felt today was far from the warmth I used to associate with that music. Taking a deep breath, I peered around the corner. The piano sat there, keys moving smoothly, pressed by invisible fingers. A part of me expected to see my grandfather's familiar face, but that thought was quickly stifled by panic. "Hello," I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. The music continued, an uninvited guest in my home. I stepped back, but the eerie notes pulled me forward again. The letters in the box flashed through my mind. Secrets. The old mill. I glanced at the photograph still in my hand. The figure seemed to stare back, challenging me. As I crept closer, the playing suddenly stopped. Silence rushed in, filling the room with an overwhelming weight. I stood there for a moment, hesitant to break the quiet. Then, from the corner of my eye, I noticed something flickering. A soft light filled the hallway, illuminating the path back to the front door. I turned. The door stood ajar, the light beckoning me. I stepped through the threshold, moving toward the glow that flickered like a candle flame. Outside, the sunset was striking, hues of orange and purple spilling into the sky. But the light wasn't from the sunset. I followed it toward the old mill, my heart pounding with each step. I couldn't ignore it. I felt some force urging me forward, a mix of fear and curiosity driving me to uncover the truth. As I neared the mill, the laughter returned, echoing through the trees. They felt alive, whispering secrets I couldn't quite grasp. The wind rustled through the branches, making the shadows dance. Was I losing my mind? Had my grief over my grandfather turned my world upside down? But I knew I had to find out. Maybe the mill held the answers. The letters hinted at buried truths. I reached the door and pushed it open with a creak, stepping inside where the light pulsed softly. That's when I saw it. A figure standing at the far end of the room, illuminated in an otherworldly glow. A chill shot through me, and my breath caught. I blinked, but he remained in place, looking right back at me, his expression inscrutable. "Who are you?" I managed to say, my voice trembling. He didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward a small wooden chest in the corner, as if urging me to come closer. The shadows around him shifted, and I could feel the weight of the air thickening once more. "I'll regret this," I muttered, stepping forward.
The moment my foot touched the old wooden floor, the laughter erupted around me, in my ears, echoing from every wall. It was relentless, drowning out my thoughts. I reached the chest, my trembling hands brushing the surface. Uncertainty loomed over me, but deep down, I already knew that some doors should be left closed. Yet there I was, preparing to open it, unaware that whatever lay inside could change everything I thought I knew. As I lifted the lid, the squeak of the hinges seemed to pierce through the maddening laughter. The chest opened slowly, like a secret being revealed. Inside, I found a haphazard collection of items, letters tied with faded string, dusty books with cracked spines, and a small wooden music box. But it was the last item that captured my attention the most. I reached for the music box, feeling its smooth surface beneath my fingers. The moment I touched it, the laughter faded into a soft hum, blending with a melody so familiar it sent shivers down my spine. It wasn't the same haunting tune from the piano, but something deeper, something that felt like home. Tentatively, I opened it. The tiny ballerina inside twirled gracefully to the tune. A wave of nostalgia washed over me, but it was quickly overtaken by a chilling realization. This box had not just belonged to my grandfather,
It felt like it was part of him. The memories attached to it surged back. I remembered the times he sat in that old chair, the music box in hand, sharing stories of his youth. Suddenly, the figure in the corner moved. I dropped the music box, heart racing as I spun around. My pulse quickened when I saw the man now standing closer, his face still shrouded in shadows. I blinked, desperate to make sense of it all. Was he a ghost, a figment of my imagination? "Who are you?" I shouted again, frustration lacing my fear. "What do you want?" He stepped into the pale light of the mill, and recognition washed over me. It was no stranger. His features mirrored my grandfather's, sharp jawline, gentle eyes. But there was something different in his gaze, a weight of sorrow that tugged at my heart. I was about to speak when he gestured toward the chest again, insistently. "Wait, you knew about this?" I asked, still trying to make sense of everything. It didn't feel right, my grandfather showing up like this. I didn't want to believe it was him. He nodded, the flicker of light around him intensifying for a moment before settling again. My stomach churned. "Why did you leave me this? What happened here?" With another tilt of his head, he pointed once more at the music box, and the air buzzed around us, heavy with secrets. I recalled the letters, their cryptic lines about the truth hidden beneath and the legacy untold. It made sense now. This music box was a clue, a portal to what my grandfather wanted me to discover. But my gut twisted. If it was tied to him, what other truths could it reveal?
The laughter returned, louder this time, as if echoing through the memories of the room. It consumed me, and I stumbled back, gripping the edge of the chest. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the laughter stopped, leaving behind a suffocating silence. I looked back up, but he was gone. Panic flooded through me. "Come back! Where are you?" I shouted, but the mill remained still, shadows creeping around me. Then my eyes landed on the music box again. It lay open, and the notes still lingered in the air like a fading ghost. I had to find out more. If the music box was a part of my grandfather, I had to know why it came to me now. I could feel it had a story to tell. As I leaned down to pick it back up, a shiver ran down my spine. I heard footsteps behind me. Someone, or something, was coming. I turned slowly, heart pounding against my chest. I didn't want to believe it, but the creeping dread filled me. It felt too quiet, too still, and yet there it was again, the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate. "Hello?" I called out, but my voice wavered. The sound continued, echoing off the walls, growing closer. I searched the shadows, but all I could see was the darkness that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Then the footsteps stopped. I held my breath, straining to hear if there was anything more. In that moment of silence, I dared to reach for the music box again. But before I could grab it, a low murmur broke the stillness, a voice I almost recognized. That same tone my grandfather used when he was about to share one of his cherished stories. "Do you remember?" I stiffened, that eerily familiar sound sending shivers down my spine. I turned again, looking for the source, but there was nothing but shadows. My mind raced. Was it him? Or had the mill truly driven me to the brink of insanity? "Show yourself!" I demanded, the edge of my fear spilling into anger. Silence answered, but then a faint shimmer of light flickered in the corner where I first saw him. I stepped forward, and as I did, the shadow seemed to stretch, revealing something on the floor, a small, worn-out book. My hands shook as I reached for it. The cover was cracked and faded, but I could make out the title, The Legacy of the Mill. I opened it, feeling the weight of the pages, and I began to read. Inside were cryptic notes and disparate scrawls. It spoke of a hidden truth and a warning for future generations. The words felt like they radiated my grandfather's essence. "Do not trust the shadows," one line read. "They hold the secrets you must uncover. But beware, for some truths are best left buried." I swallowed hard. This was more than I bargained for. My mind raced with unspoken questions. Was he warning me of something? What lay hidden in this mill that I had yet to understand? Just then, I heard a rustle behind me. Without thinking, I slammed the book closed and spun around.
There he was again, the shadowy figure hovering just outside the light, his expression filled with urgency. "Why are you here?" I whispered, feeling like I was talking to a ghost, but I needed answers. He pointed again, this time at the book. I could see a flicker of desperation in his eyes, begging me to comprehend something vital. The room felt charged with energy, and I was on the brink of a revelation, yet I still couldn't grasp what it was. Then it hit me.
The letters I found in the chest, the laughter that echoed through the space, and the music box with its nagging melody. This was all connected, and I was the one meant to unravel it. I took a step toward him, seeking clarity, but before I could reach him, the shadows deepened, swallowing him whole. "Wait!" I shouted into the growing darkness. With that, the air thickened, and I sensed movement all around me. The hairs on my arms stood up. Something sinister lurked in the corners of the mill, and it was now drawing closer. The quiet had turned menacing. I was no longer alone. The sound of whispering laughter danced through the air again, but this time it felt like it was directed at me. I had to leave, but the music box called me back, a siren singing a dangerous tune. What was I about to uncover, and was I ready to face it? I tightened my grip on the book and stepped back, the shadows creeping ever closer. My heart raced as laughter echoed in my ears, a sound that clawed at my sanity. It was both familiar and foreign, a cruel reminder of happier times now twisted into something sinister. "Get a hold of yourself," I whispered, trying to drown out the noise. I had to focus. Whatever this was, I couldn't let it overwhelm me. The flicker of light from the music box was weak now, but I could still see it. It seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, and I felt drawn to it, though every instinct screamed for me to run. I took a deep breath and edged closer to the music box, desperate to understand its pull. Maybe it held a clue to what was happening. As I knelt down, my fingertips brushed against the intricate designs on its surface. I hoped that opening it would make things clearer. Just before I could lift the lid, another rustle broke through the air. Someone was definitely in the mill with me. I twisted around, scanning the darkness. A figure shifted at the far end, just out of reach of the light. My heart thudded in my chest, and terror gripped me. "Who's there?" I called, and my voice wavered despite my efforts to sound brave. The laughter stopped suddenly, replaced by a heavy silence. "It's time to see," the voice from the shadows echoed, deeper and colder than before. "What do you mean?" I shouted, suddenly feeling small and foolish. I had come here seeking answers, yet all I found were riddles wrapped in darkness. I needed to stay calm. I took another cautious step toward the figure, but my mind raced with questions. Was this a part of whatever was haunting the mill? Or was it something connected to my grandfather's legacy? The book weighed heavily in my hands, as if it were alive with its own urgency. Perhaps there was a deeper meaning behind my grandfather's warning. The idea sent a fresh wave of determination through me. "Show yourself!" I demanded again, more fiercely this time. I felt the shift in the air, the mirror to my defiance. The figure stepped into the flickering light, but what emerged left me gasping. The ghostly outline resembled my grandfather, yet there was something different. The eyes, once warm and comforting, were now dark and vacant. A chill ran down my spine. "Why do you linger?" he whispered, the sadness in his tone feeling like a heavy weight. "You must find the truth before it finds you." I stumbled back, my breath hitching. "What truth? What are you trying to tell me?" He hesitated, eyes searching mine as if seeking something he lost long ago. Then, just like that, he faded again into the shadows, leaving me alone with nothing but the low hum of the music box. Panic flooded my senses. What was I meant to uncover? I felt the chill of dread wrapping tightly around me, and with it came a sudden clarity. There was no running from this. The mill held secrets I had yet to uncover. I headed back to the music box, my decision made. I had to open it. Whatever lay inside might be the key to unraveling this mystery. I lifted the lid and felt a rush of cool air sweep past me. Then, everything went dark. As the darkness swallowed me, panic clawed at my throat. I swung my arms, desperate to find something solid, but there was only emptiness. It felt as though I had fallen into a void, cut off from reality. I called out, but no sound escaped my lips. Fear consumed me. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the darkness lifted. I found myself back in the mill, but everything was different. The shadows that had once pressed close now flickered like candlelight, dancing in my periphery. A sense of unease hung heavy in the air. My hands trembled as I looked around. The music box sat before me, the lid still open. The soft tune had resumed, but now it played a stark melody, one that sent shivers down my spine. I could feel it echoing in my bones, resonating with a strange energy. As I stood there, a ripple of movement caught my eye near the far wall. I squinted against the dim light and saw the outline of a piece of paper fluttering to the ground. I stepped closer,
my heart pounding again. In the back of my mind, I wondered if this was part of some twisted game. Bending down, I picked up the paper and realized it was a letter. My grandfather's elegant handwriting sprawled across it, but the words seemed different, frantic, almost desperate. I ran my fingers over the familiar strokes, searching for a comfort that wouldn't come. "Dear Chloe," it began, "if you are reading this, then something has gone terribly wrong. There are secrets hidden within the mill, secrets I tried to shield you from."
The music box is a key, but it also binds. The hairs on my arms prickled as I read on. You must confront the truth. Beware the shadows. They are not just figments of fear. I have uncovered something dark. The letter ended abruptly, as if it were torn from the page. I felt a cold wave rush through me. What had my grandfather discovered? My breath quickened, and I looked around as if the shadows might leap out at me. I had thought I was on the verge of understanding, but now I felt adrift. Turning the letter over, I searched for more, but there was nothing. I was left with a chilling sense of dread. The wind howled through the gaps in the mill, carrying whispers that felt just out of reach. Suddenly, I heard it again, the voice from before. "You should have listened." I spun around, searching for the source. There was the figure again, looming in the corner, more defined this time, as if the shadows had woven together to form an outline. The resemblance to my grandfather was stronger, but his face twisted in a way I could hardly recognize. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice steadying with each word. "You were warned," he said, his voice a haunting echo of the past. "You dove too deep." Before I could respond, the shadows around him grew darker, swallowing the figure whole. My heart raced. I had to uncover the truth quickly. Whatever my grandfather had discovered, it was trying to keep me from it. I turned back to the music box, resolve flooding through me again. I had to play the tune again. Maybe it would unlock more secrets. But as I reached for it, the temperature dropped sharply, and the air became heavier. That's when I saw it, a shape in the shadows, forming a body. It approached me slowly, and with it came the echo of laughter, delightfully tainted. I froze. Someone else was in the mill. I couldn't move. The figure stepped into the flickering light, and I blinked, trying to make sense of it. It was a child, a little girl. Her eyes glinted with mischief, but something in her gaze sent a chill through me. She looked almost familiar, but I couldn't place her. "Who are you?" I managed to choke out. Her laughter rang out, sharp and eerie. "You are not supposed to be here, Chloe." "Neither are you," I shot back. "What do you want?" Without answering, she danced around the room, her movements fluid and playful. The shadows flickered with her every motion, twisting and curling. I felt trapped in a web of darkness and light, unable to find my footing. I had to remind myself of my purpose. I was here to uncover the truth, to figure out what my grandfather had meant in his letter. I took a cautious step toward the music box, my hands trembling. "Is this about the music box?" I asked, desperate for any clue. "What does it do?" She stopped and turned, staring directly at me. "You have to listen, but you might not like what you hear." "Why are you doing this?" I asked again, my voice more urgent now. "What do you know?"
With a small grin, she pointed behind me. "It's not just a game anymore." I whipped around, but there was nothing there, just shadows and the desire to escape. My mind raced. The laughter echoed around me again, but this time it sounded twisted, as if it belonged to something deeper, something more sinister. Dropping to my knees, I scooped up the letter again, searching for guidance. I flipped it over and over in my hands, trying to pull clarity from the chaos. The girl's laughter faded to an unsettling whisper, and I felt a dark presence creeping in. The shadows stretched longer, reaching toward me. "Tell me what's going on," I demanded, panic clawing at my throat. I turned back to the child. "Please." The girl tilted her head, her eyes narrowing. "You have to make the music play louder. That's how you find the truth." I looked at the music box. With a pounding heart, I approached it once more. If what she said was true, I needed to take a risk. I opened the lid and turned the key, letting the haunting melody fill the air. The music swelled, and for a moment I felt weightless. But then the shadows shifted, and a pulsing energy surrounded me. The little girl began to twirl, her laughter blending with the melody. In that moment, I sensed movement in the air, a swirl of energy and darkness. I closed my eyes, trying to hold on to the sound. Then everything changed.
The shadows thickened, enveloping me completely. "Listen closely," a new voice whispered, low and menacing. "You're not yet ready." I jerked back, gasping for breath. The air grew heavy around me. Something cold slid down my spine. I gripped the music box tighter, but the melody began to distort, feeding the shadows. I needed to find the truth quickly. I had no idea what would happen next, but I knew I had to confront whatever lay beneath the surface of the music box. Just then, I noticed a flicker out of the corner of my eye, a flash of movement. I turned my head, trembling, and saw a door I had never noticed before. It stood ajar, beckoning me into the darkness beyond. I took a deep breath, heart racing. I had to follow. There was no turning back now. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow passage shrouded in darkness. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. Was this a mistake? The little girl's laughter still echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder that I was in over my head. Yet something tugged at me, urging me to step forward. I moved cautiously into the hallway. The air was thick, and an unsettling silence surrounded me. The only sound came from the music box, still playing its eerie tune behind me. I strained to listen, but it felt like a distant echo rather than a melody. As I walked deeper into the gloom, the shadows seemed to shift, following my movements. I reached out to touch the walls, feeling the cool, rough surface beneath my fingertips. I tried to focus, telling myself that I was in control, that I could find the answers I needed.
But the deeper I ventured, the more the darkness pressed against me, making it hard to breathe. Then I saw it. At the end of the corridor, a faint light flickered. My breath caught as I took slow steps toward it. What lay beyond that light? Another room? Or was it a trap? I cursed my curiosity, but couldn't turn back now. As I approached, the light grew brighter, revealing a large, ornate mirror set into the wall. Its surface shimmered and twisted, reflecting more shadow than me. I stepped closer, and my reflection began to ripple. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But then I saw her, the little girl, standing right behind me in the mirror. I spun around, heart racing, but she wasn't there, just silence and the pervasive dark. I turned back to the mirror, my breathing quickening. "What do you want?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. "To play," she replied in a sing-song voice from the mirror, though her lips didn't move. "Why me?" I felt desperate. I wanted answers, not riddles. The girl's smile widened, and the shadows around me darkened. "Because you are chosen. The music box needs you, Chloe." A sense of dread washed over me. My grandfather's letter had been about secrets and hidden truths. Was this what he meant? I was linked to this strange world, and something told me it all revolved around the music box. "Louder," she continued, her voice now a serene melody. "You must summon the past." I took a step back, trembling. I couldn't trust a child in the mirror, but the curiosity burned brighter than fear. "Enough playing," I shouted, my voice wavering. "Tell me the truth." The room shuddered at my words, and the light exploded, spilling chaos. The fragments of shadows howled, swirling around me. Panic surged through me as I felt a pull, a powerful force trying to drag me into the mirror. I grabbed the edge of the frame, desperate to hold on. The music box suddenly blared louder, shaking the very ground beneath me. The shimmering surface of the mirror twisted, revealing scenes from my grandfather's past, faded memories, joyful days, darkened by shadows. That's when I saw it. A familiar face appeared in the mirror, etched with sorrow. My heart sank. It was my grandfather, but there was something different about him, something unsettling. I needed to know more, but I felt myself slipping. I was God between the mirrors and the music, the truth teasing me just out of reach. And then the shadows lunged for me, pulling me toward the glass. It was now or never. I had to unravel this mystery before it consumed me. I shut my eyes tightly as the shadows clawed at my body, a suffocating force wrapping around me. The music box still played, and somehow the melody stung sharper, filled with urgency. I gripped the mirror's frame, its goldness grounding me in the whirlwind of chaos. "Make it stop," I cried, knowing instinctively that the truth might lead to my salvation, but the pull was intoxicating. I had to confront whatever was trapped in that mirror. With every ounce of willpower I could muster, I summoned the last reserves of courage. "Show me the truth," I shouted. The shadows froze momentarily. The mirror's surface rippled as if my words had disrupted the current. I held my breath as the music shifted, twisting into a harmony that echoed the very core of my being. The figure of my grandfather emerged again, this time clearer. He looked older, worn but somehow vibrant, playing a tune that resonated with the melody of the music box. But instead of joy, his face bore a look of desperation. "Chloe," he called out, voice thick with sorrow. "You have to understand. You must choose to break the cycle." "What cycle?" I shouted back, my voice wavering with fear and confusion. "Every generation must face it. The shadows want to consume what is good, what is light. You must confront them." His eyes held mine, and I could feel the urgency coursing through our connection. Sudden clarity washed over me. My grandfather had been trying to protect me, shielding me from whatever dark force dwelled in this place. The music box wasn't just an artifact. It was a beacon tied to our family's legacy, a tool to summon and confront the shadows threatening to engulf us. "Remember the letters," he urged, a hint of panic creeping into his tone. I shook my head, thinking back to the words I had unearthed earlier. "What do you mean? What did you find?" The shadows shifted, dark tendrils reaching out as if sensing my resolve. The air grew colder, swirling with an ominous energy. My grandfather's image wavered, but his voice remained steady. "They are bound to the secrets of the mill. You must face them, Chloe. Only then will you understand." Suddenly, the laughter thundered through the air, and I pushed through the pain of fear. "I choose to fight," I declared, staring into the mirror, into the echoes of my grandfather's legacy. As the music drove forward, spilling over with harmony, the shadows shrieked, recoiling as if harmed by my declaration. At that moment, everything exploded into a blinding light. The laughter crescendoed and then fell silent as the shadows dissolved into wisps of darkness, fading into nothingness. I felt myself torn between worlds, a visceral sense of freedom and fear. I blinked, and when my eyes shot open, I found myself back in the mill. The light flickered, but it had a new softness to it. The air seemed clearer, as if an oppressive weight had lifted. The music box lay silent now, the final note echoing gently in my mind. Heart racing, I pushed myself off the floor. I glanced in the mirror. My reflection was whole, unharmed, and somehow brighter, but the remnants of the experience lingered in my gut. What had I truly faced? Determined, I grasped the music box and tucked it under my arm, knowing it carried the key to understanding my past. I turned toward the door, ready to step out into the light of a new beginning, but warm, inviting sunlight greeted me, along with an unsettling thought. I looked back at the mill, a sense of unease settling in the pit of my stomach. Had I truly broken the cycle, or merely postponed it? As I stepped outside into the open air, doubts seeped into my mind. I felt watched by unseen eyes, shadows dancing just beyond the edge of the woods, whispering secrets I wasn't ready to hear. I didn't want to believe my battle was over. I took a deep breath, heart still racing. I could feel the weight of my grandfather's legacy in my veins, replicating his warning, resonating through everything I had learned. As I drove back to town, I cast one last glance toward the mill. The darkness had retreated for now, but I could still feel it lurking, waiting patiently. I knew that encounters with the unknown could only be postponed, not eliminated. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if those shadows still gather dust in that old mill, if they remember me. And as I catch fleeting moments of the music playing softly in my mind, I remind myself that I decided to fight. But mostly, I try not to think about it.